how much I'm going to be the moderator here because my story is already documented 10 times over if you listen to What's the Tea. Again, wow. Okay, we're going to start. I'll start with you, Jack, since you're here, okay? How did you discover ball culture? How did you fall into the ballroom scene?
I mean, it was literally Alice in Wonderland, falling into the rabbit hole. I went to a club, they gave me a flyer. It was like, you ever been to a ball? I'm like, what, like Cinderella? It was like, no, it's a competition. So I went that day, said, be there at 3. I got there at 3. They said it would start at 5. I went back out to the movies, came back. They said it would start at 8. And just when I was gonna leave, the promoter was just coming in. They were like, what are you doing here so early? So I was there since 3 o'clock. But I stayed, the ball started at 12, needless to say, but it was the most amazing thing. I've never seen anything like it, and I've been hooked since day one.
I think we should do everybody's story because I think it's interesting. Mariah, go ahead, baby.
Oh, okay. Well, I was a little gay youngling hanging out and scoping up the guys with the dreads at the club. And I had only done drag once before for Halloween. Of course, that's everybody's inauguration. And so I was walking through the club, and this guy stopped mid hallway. It was one of those creepy hallways. Stopped.
For them, but we won't say that.
Right. Stopped mid hallway and turned around and was like, "Hey, oh my God, like, have you ever heard of a ball?" And I had just went to the awards ball of '99 in Atlanta, and I was like, "Oh my God, yeah." I was like, I really want to be involved with it because I saw how everybody like loved and hugged and. Especially with like Black and Latino, you don't get a lot of that publicly. And so I was like, I really want to engage in that. And so I was like, yeah, sure. So I'm thinking, he's like, wanting me to like walk a whatever category. He was like, oh, would you ever consider drag? I said, I did it once, yeah, sure. He was like, yeah. So his name was Maurice Armani. And he was just like, yeah, let me show you to my friends. And there was this one femme queen, we call them they're femme queens, but it was a transsexual woman, and she was sitting there with her cigarette, nails this long. It's like, I want you to meet somebody. She scanned me up and down and was like, she's cute. and so I was like, well, okay. I didn't know what she was looking for or looking at, and they ended up saying they wanted me to walk drag space. Keep in mind, I didn't know what the category definitions were at the time. And I was like, well, okay, I'll give it a try. If I'm good at it, I'll stick with it. If not, I got Polaroids. And so went to my first ball. I had my mom design my first outfit. And it was, I designed it, she made it. It was tragic. I looked like, it was like that red ladybug faux fur material.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So my friends took me to Little 5 Points in Atlanta, pulled me together. I had birdseed titties. I cut my own pads, had blisters on my hands, and had glued the wig to my head, and I won, so.
You snatched it. That's it.
I grew up in Virginia, and I used to be a part of this like kind of modeling troupe kind of scene in elementary school and middle school. So fast forward to high school, I got into this dance studio, and one of the queens there used to vogue between actual classes. I'm like, girl, what the f*** is that? So I started researching it. We became friends, and she's like, oh, I heard you walk runway. Me not knowing like this ballroom runway, way different from model troupe runway. So she took me to my first ball that October. I got chopped. It was awful. 3 months later, I walked again. I was in my first house, the House of Chanel, and I've been walking ever since.
Yes. Miss Tyra.
Well, actually, hi everyone. For me, it was kind of different. I kind of found the family in ballroom before I actually walked the ball. I was ostracized. Mom said you could not be here. I don't know what you would do to your sisters and brothers because you're freaky. And when I went out, it was the ballroom, people that were in ballroom that embraced me and made me a part of their family. And then it was, okay, you're a part of our family, now it's time to pay us back. Get out there and serve. And here I am.
Hello, darlings. How are you? My story is a little bit different because I started in the club scene in terms of big clubs. So I would not be here without this one. This is the father, the grandfather of the House of Extravaganza. And I would not be here without this one. So these two have been mentors for me, and from learning what I did through the Sound Factory, which was on 27th Street in New York City, I then took that towards the straight clubs like Tunnel, Limelight, Palladium, Club USA, and I taught that to the straight crowd that was there, because I believe that the only way for you to get straight folks to know what gay folks are about is to put it right in their face and use the art to open them up to us.
We have here a legend today, the one and only Hector Extravaganza. Welcome.
I love this. Thank you. The first time I went to a ball was actually in 1979. I'm talking about 80s and 70s, so it's different than now. But you know, back then everything was more like whatever you do, however you walk, however you breathe, wherever you go, however you live your life, had to be in, you know, behind closed doors. So society then and society now is like two different worlds, you know. So that's where I found my, you know, my home was before Extravaganza, and mind you, we're still together to this very day, from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s, 2000 and beyond. We're still together, but ballroom for me, like, you know, it took me to a whole different level. What got me started with it is like, I was looking for family. I needed family. My body needed family. My soul needed family. But your biological family don't give you, the ballroom family does. Ballroom, what's good about it, it's just like, it builds your self-esteem. And I feel like if you can get over, and like if you can go to a judges panel and you can get your 10s, and once you get your 10s, then you're ready for society, because gay kids will judge you from the top of your dandruff to the bottom of your corns. Whereas, you know what I'm saying? So if you can get over on the gay kids, you can get a job, trust.
And that's the truth, that is the mother truth, honey.
Those moments were real on those Christopher Street piers back in our day.
Yes.
They were very real, and there was really nothing like walking into a ballroom. It's different now, though, very different now than it was in our day. And I can tell you that back then it was basically in any hall that we could afford, and it was usually way uptown.
In Harlem.
In the Harlem or in the Bronx or somewhere way uptown, until the likes of Suzanne Bartsch was bringing it open and opened
The Love Ball.
Yeah,
Right.
and changed everything for us in the face of bringing it to the masses, which was beautiful.